Yo, what's up, everybody? What's good? So, I'm overdue. I'm overdue for some R. Kelly videos. I'm really just overdue for content on my channel in general. You guys can see I haven't really been posting anything. That's because real life has been kicking me in the butt, and it's just really been hard to keep up with my hobby of making these videos and keep up with my other responsibilities in life. However, I think someone came to my channel one time and they actually were recently and they actually asked if I could, post some videos about a motion that R. Kelly had actually submitted. And I actually didn't see any motions that he submitted, but I did see progress in his case. And I was going to make a couple of videos about that. And while I was looking at that, I came to the realization that, hey, this guy's trial is about to come up pretty soon here. So I believe, and don't quote me on the dates because I'm a little fuzzy. If you guys know for sure, definitely post the dates in the comments below. But I believe he has the trial coming up in March, and that's going to be in the Eastern District of New York in the federal court. He also has a trial coming up in September, I believe, which is going to be in federal court in Illinois. And then he also has that one trial or that one case that he has to deal with in the state case. I don't know when that date is, right? So if you guys know the dates, post it below. Otherwise, just wait until I get a breather. Then I'll actually go and dig that information up and make a quick video about it and try to give you my take on it or my perspective on those dates and what I think is, the best strategy from that point. But with all that said, I was just actually surfing the internet tonight and I see that, there's been some developments in, in cases associated with R. Kelly. So everyone knows that three people were actually charged with either bribing witnesses or intimidating witnesses. And I forget what the actual third person was charged with. And apparently, one of them has actually pleaded guilty. Now, I've already made videos about these three individuals that were charged. I didn't go into great detail, but I think I did give my perspective. And, one of my perspectives, well, actually, let me just read one of these articles. I'm really horrible with reading on the internet. You guys know that. But we're going to go to Page's 6 website. And, the headline, R. Kelly's pal pleads guilty to trying to bribe a witness, right? And then it just goes on. An R. Kelly associate pleaded guilty Tuesday to trying to silence one of the singer's accusers by offering her hundreds of thousands of dollars. Me, and I guess this is him talking, me and another person offered Jane Doe money for her to not go forward with her complaint or testimony against Robert Kelly, also known as R. Kelly. And this is coming from Richard Arline Jr., who's 31. He admitted during a virtual hearing in Brooklyn federal court, right? So apparently they had a Zoom hearing or they had some type of virtual hearing. And, he came out and he said this. And he goes, I knew what I did was wrong. Then it goes on. In 2020, after Kelly was hit with the racketeering and sex trafficking indictment in Brooklyn, an unarmed co-conspirator texted the accuser, Rob is trying to get his cousin Rich in contact with you because he wants to pay you for your silence. During a May 26, 2020 phone call, Arline offered the woman $500,000 and said, I believe I can fly. Crooner had authorized the payment. Unbeknownst to him, the feds were listening in on the call. Arline faces up to 15 years in prison when he's sentenced on the bribery conviction. He was charged last year alongside with Donnell Russell. So Don Russell was the other guy. So Donnell Russell and Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson is going to be the guy who was accused of actually blowing up the car, as I can remember. I can't remember all these details. And then they go on to say that who are accused of trying to harass, intimidate, threaten, or corruptly influence other accusers in Kelly's Brooklyn case. Meanwhile, the Grammy Award winner faces a separate indictment in Chicago charging him with producing. And I hate when this happens. These ads just kind of. I don't know what's going on with these ads because I've been actually to a couple of websites and I noticed that as I'm reading the ad, as I'm reading the article, the ad pops up and it throws the page off sync. So now you have to shift around to actually, pick up where you were reading, right? So I guess this is the new strategy sites are using on the internet. Interrupt your reading, right? It's not enough to actually just put the ad on the page. They want it to pop up and interrupt your reading so that you pay attention to the ad. Anyway, so meanwhile, the Grammy Award winner faces a separate indictment in Chicago, charging him with producing child pornography and destroying evidence. So look, so this is my take, and I think, as I was going to say earlier, my take on the indictments and my take on this guy pleading guilty is that there's no evidence that suggests that R. Kelly knew that these guys were going to intimidate witnesses. There's no evidence to suggest that R. Kelly knew that the guy was going to blow up Azriel's car. There's no evidence that suggests that R. Kelly knew that the guy was going to actually try to bribe Azriel. And I believe it was Azriel, as I remember the details correctly. I think everybody knows it's Azriel, right? But the point is, there's no evidence to this, right? But of course, they're going to play this out in court, and I always believe that there's going to be plea deals when people plead guilty to stuff like this. And I've also made videos about, what plea deals would mean for R. Kelly. And I think the subject of that particular video was Don Russell. And we got into the actual mechanics of a plea deal. It's a pretty good video. You should go and check it out. And I believe the same thing is happening here. And this is just my own opinion. I have no evidence. I have no proof. This is just me talking out of the side of my head. But he's pleading guilty. And typically, if you're pleading guilty, you're doing it for a reason, right? You're doing it for a reason. Now, and the reason I say this is because why not fight it? Why not fight it and see if you can actually beat the charge? Well, to keep you from fighting it and to keep you from wasting the court times, typically they're going to offer you some sort of plea deal, typically. And if they don't offer you a plea deal, then the other line of thinking is that, hey, I'll just go ahead and admit that I'm guilty and I'll just fess up and hopefully the court will find mercy on me. But regardless of whether or not you have a plea deal up front or you're expecting mercy for the court, there's rules about how this thing goes. And I explain those rules in the video where I talk about what I think Don Russell plea deal would mean for R. Kelly. Now, Don Russell, at that time, to my knowledge, didn't actually take a plea deal, but we just had that theoretical conversation. So, for the purpose of this video, I believe there is a plea deal or there's hopes of a plea deal. Because there's no way in the world that you're just going to plead guilty, even if you are guilty. There's no reason for you to plead guilty unless you're expecting to get some type of deal, right? And if you're not expecting to get some type of deal, or if you don't have a deal in writing, then you're hoping for a deal, and you're hoping that the judge is going to see that you cooperated, and you're hoping that the judge is going to see that you took responsibility, and therefore you're going to get a light sentence. But I'm leaning towards there's some sort of plea deal here. And I could be wrong. You guys let me know if you have evidence whether or not there's a plea deal. Questions and comments below. But here's the thing. There is no evidence that R. Kelly actually was involved in any of this. But of course, they're going to use this testimony. And I guarantee you, they're going to try to find a way to pull this testimony into the R. Kelly trial. And they're probably going to do it some sort of shady way. Maybe they'll have this guy come in and testify. And and at that point, they don't even really have to make any straightforward allegations, right? They can just simply pull Arline Jr. into R. Kelly's case, and they can say something like, "Well, do you know Mr. Kelly? Tell us how you know Mr. Kelly. How are you guys associated or affiliated?" And then they're going to say, "Did you bribe or attempt to bribe a witness in the R. Kelly trial?" And boom, there you go. That's how they're going to try to say that the RICO charge fits, because you have to remember, one of the biggest charges in this case is the RICO charge, and what I see in this testimony, right, which I believe was in exchange for a plea deal, is I see building blocks of a RICO charge. That's what I see. So in my mind, I think I think R. Kelly and his lawyers are going to have to come out immediately and try to find a way to mitigate this. Maybe a statement, or maybe some type of evidence to say, "Hey, I really don't associate with this guy. I've never associated with him. He's come to a couple of my parties. I know of him, but I don't know him." You get where I'm going, because what you don't want is them to try to use this to establish the RICO charge. Now, you guys may remember from one of my videos, R. Kelly's lawyer, I think Greenberg, he actually wrote a pretty good motion to dismiss the RICO charge, and we never found out what happened with that, right? But he wrote a pretty good motion to dismiss the RICO charge, and to me, it seems like they're going to try to combat that motion, right? Or they're going to try to substantiate his RICO charge with this testimony. They're going to try to find a way to bridge this testimony in. So, as we know, there's still two pieces left on the board. We have Don Russell and we have Michael Wilson. Again, I believe Michael Wilson is going to be the guy who is accused of actually blowing up one of the witnesses' car, who we all know as Azriel. It's no secret, everybody knows. And Don Russell is basically, the R. Kelly's manager, as I can remember. And from my understanding, from my deduction, right? I don't have any evidence that this happened, but I deduce from my superior intellect. I deduce what happened was that R. Kelly was too busy handling all his other accusers that he delegated Don Russell to basically handle Faith Rogers, right? And everyone knows who they're referring to when they say Don Russell, and then they mention another accuser and they talk about the other case in New York. Everyone knows that Faith Rogers has a civil suit against R. Kelly in New York. And Don Russell, I deduced that Don Russell was responsible, or handed the duty to try to deal with that lawsuit. Now, when I say responsible, or basically the responsibility given to him by R. Kelly, I'm talking about power of attorney. And maybe I need to make another video on power of attorney and go into detail. But from my basic understanding, and if you're a lawyer, go ahead and break it down to us and explain to us what a power of attorney is. This is a subject I haven't spent an incredible amount of time on, but I have some limited working knowledge because I've given people power of attorney before. So power of attorney works like this, right? There's a case where you actually have a lawyer and you're giving your lawyer the responsibility to actually, or you're giving your lawyer the right to handle your case in court. And that's an actual, in fact, power of attorney. But there's also the version of power of attorney where you can delegate some of your personal affairs to a family member, right? And you can say, "Hey, look, I don't have time to deal with this. I need you to go down to the Department of Motor Vehicle. Let me sign this note. I hereby give my cousin Joe Blow power of attorney solely and strictly to handle my affairs as it regards to this ticket." right, to this ticket. Maybe they have knowledge of what happened, or I tell them what happened, and I tell them what I want, to happen. And I want them to go down to the Department of Motor Vehicles or the city of Chicago, wherever, to try to find a way to deal with this, right? Now, of course, there's going to be some limitations. He obviously, my cousin Joe Blow obviously can't go into the court and represent me, right? Because an individual can't represent another individual unless that individual is a lawyer. But that person can still go down to the city. He can still try to get basic information about the ticket. He can still try to talk to people to see what can be done about the ticket. He can basically handle the affairs up until the point to where he can't. And that's power of attorney, right? And then there's other versions of power of attorney. For example, maybe you have a power of attorney in case you get sick or you get ill, and basically you put a person's name down to handle all your affairs. There's also the situation where you could get sick or you become ill and you're married, then your wife is going to be able to handle your affairs, right? That's power of attorney in a nutshell. So sorry to go off on a tangent there, but basically what I believe happened, what I deduce happened, is that R. Kelly gave Don Russell power of attorney to try to mitigate his lawsuit with Faith Rogers. Now, with that said, there's certain things that R. Kelly could have done, and I think instead of R. Kelly doing these things, Don Russell actually did these things. Maybe Don Russell went too far. Maybe Don Russell, broke the law. I don't know. I'm not saying that he did, but obviously, the federal prosecutors are saying that he went too far. And if you need background information on that whole Don Russell lawsuit, I have a video on my channel that basically goes over Don Russell's lawsuit, or the indictment against Don Russell. So you could go to my page and you check that video out. And actually, I need to follow up on that video because I'm pretty sure there's been some developments on that as well, because it's been a long time since I actually looked at Don Russell's case. Don Russell has a whole set of problems. He has a whole different set of problems, because one of the things that I think is happening is that he's going into court and he's using documents and he's using lingo that the court is not going to acknowledge. The court is simply not going to acknowledge it. And they're basically going to say, hey, look, if you don't come to us with actually, I think what's happened is that he actually has an attorney now. Now, I'm not sure if an attorney was forced upon him, or he chose to say, I'm just going to get an attorney. I'm not sure, right? If you guys know, leave your questions and comments below. Let us know if Don Russell's attorney was forced on him, or if he just decided to get an attorney. But when he started off, he was actually using a lot of terminology in a lawsuit that the court is just simply not going to acknowledge. And the reason I say that is because when you look at the terminology that he used, and again, you can go and watch the video on this, and then you go and look up case law, you'll see that specific case law comes out and say, hey, this is not a thing, this is not a law, you can't come to court, you can't do this, right? So I suspect, getting back on point here, so I can just finish up this video, I deduced that Don Russell was given power of attorney to handle R. Kelly's affairs. Now what the government is going to do is that they're going to take that agreement between Don Russell and R. Kelly. What I deduce is an agreement. What I believe was an agreement. I don't know what happened between R. Kelly and Don Russell. It's all my speculation. So, take what I say with a grain of salt. But anyway, they're going to take that agreement between R. Kelly and Don Russell. I guess I should say alleged agreement, because I don't know, right? Well, we'll say they're going to take that fantasy agreement between Don Russell and R. Kelly, and they're going to say, hey, this is racketeering, right? This is racketeering. So these are the last two pieces on the board: Don Russell and Michael Wilson. And I believe from some of this information that has already come across and I've already presented in the video of Don Russell, I believe they're trying to set Don Russell up for a plea deal. That's what I believe, right? But it looks like Don Russell didn't go for it, right? And Michael Wilson, I don't know what's going on with his case. So, there's two potential series of videos that you guys can expect from me if I ever get time. Hopefully, I get time before, these cases get too far ahead of us. But there's Don Russell and then there's Michael Wilson. They're going to try to use those two along with Richard Arline Jr., and they're going to try to use it to substantiate the RICO charge. That's what I think, so that's pretty much it for this video. Let me know what you think. Leave your questions, comments below. Do you think the testimony, the guilty plea from Richard Arline Jr. means anything? Do you think it's going to hurt R. Kelly's case? I believe it is, unless R. Kelly or his lawyer does something about this. Do you think Don Russell is going to flip? Right? I've made videos about that. At this point, I don't think he will flip, because if he would have flipped, you would see similar testimony from Don Russell by now, right? I think Don Russell is going to ride or die. That's my opinion. Let me know. Leave your questions and comments below. Michael Wilson, I don't really know much about Michael Wilson, so I can't guess what he's going to do. And all of this stuff that I'm giving you is just my own personal guess, my own personal perspective of what I believe is going on. It's not solid evidence. It's not solid information. It's just my own speculation. So that's it, everybody. Questions and comments below. Will Richard's testimony hurt R. Kelly case? What should R. Kelly do about this? Do you think Don Russell will ever flip? Do you think Michael Wilson will flip? Questions and comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe.